What's going on, fish? Welcome back to your favorite pond, the Coy Pond, episode 76. Today is the draft, baby.
Woo!
We have made it once again. As always, you can watch us on YouTube, find us on Spotify, listen on Apple Podcasts, find us on Amazon Music, and as always, I hope, dear God, you didn't forget about a draft question, because don't forget to submit your question on SpeakPipe. We will not have time to answer your draft questions unless you leave a comment in the video below. It's draft day. If you're watching this, we've made it. It is Thursday, April 24th, and the first round of the draft is hours away. Today, we have got the man, the myth, the legend, K-Dog, bringing us his final mock draft. And, as always, we will be finding bets, learning his mock draft, his final mock draft, and betting on it. As per usual, he has historically been pretty damn accurate with his mock drafts. Obviously, risk what you're willing to lose. All right, I don't want to be held accountable for telling you what might happen and then it doesn't happen. This is the NFL draft, and of all things, this year is one of the most unpredictable we've had in recent memory.
Even at this moment, information is still coming in.
Breaking news.
Breaking news. It doesn't stop. This may go down in history as the wackiest, most unpredictable draft in NFL history.
It's hilarious.
It is literally, and I am saying literally, all over the place.
There's nothing.
Yeah, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say there's nothing to go off of because after pick 2, no one seems to have any sort of, even pick 2.
There has never been, it's so interesting. So some of the offensive linemen, for example, that are high in this draft have been projected high in this draft.
Yes.
Last year would have been offensive linemen like 4, 5, and 6 in the draft. So when you're looking at how you rank all these players together,
right.
and you hear everybody saying the value has to be there, that's what's tricky about this draft is it's heavy on D-line. It's heavy on pass rushers. It's heavy on defensive tackles. It's thin as far as where the talent matches up to last year.
Right, the top versus
on
that
other
gap.
Positions, yeah. Yep. And so if teams are drafting for value, some players are going to fall that we have expected are going to go high. If they draft, so that's best player available.
Right.
If they draft for need, it's going to the teams on this board are hoping that people draft for need.
Yep.
Because it's going to send better talent further down the draft in a way that's not been seen before.
Yes. Some of your least favorite teams are about to get way better.
And this is delicious stuff because I mean it just I mean as recent as yesterday there was a big rumor running around and so I just got back from being out of town. Colin, bless his heart, waited to film this most important broadcast.
We cannot miss this.
We are about an hour behind our normal shooting time on Wednesday night because it is the draft episode.
It is the draft episode.
And so this thing has to be ready to go for 8 o'clock tomorrow because it's go time.
It is the hottest time of the year.
The wait is over. And so as recent as yesterday, rumors were floating around that there was a team or two who were aggressively pursuing the Browns at number 2, arguably to get Travis Hunter.
Yep.
Perhaps the most talented player, as draft prognosticators will say, a generational talent, meaning no matter what you need in the draft, if that generational talent is sitting there, if you want to trade the farm, it's probably worth it.
Yep.
I think of Jimmy Johnson getting the question about who's the Cowboys defensive Micah Parsons.
Yes.
And he's like, they asked him, would you trade him? And they're like, trade Micah Parsons? It wouldn't matter what somebody could give you for Micah Parsons. He's that kind of talent. You don't trade it.
Dang.
And so that's a pretty wild statement. And so Travis Hunter, speculation it was the Cowboys. Oh, don't tease me. More speculation it was the Jaguars. That one I could see because they're sitting at 5.
So
and they could actually pull it off.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
And they could go up there, get some picks, come back down, and probably get Jackson Dart or something like that, who, by the way, is a rising darling in this draft.
Yep.
So all kinds of things as recent as yesterday. I was driving a lot today and had meetings and didn't really get to tune in as much as I wanted to. I've totally enjoyed as I prepped for this thing.
It's been crazy.
Sending Colin things at all hours of the night. Last night I think I sent him a mock at 12:30 in the morning.
Yeah. I was waiting for a home run parlay to finish up.
and Daniel Jeremiah, DJ as they call him, I think on NFL Network. Todd McShay, who used to be on ESPN.
Yep.
You know, along with all the other ones that are filtering information in and out. Jane Slater for the Cowboys, who I trust and follow.
Yes.
All the time.
Right.
But those two guys that I first mentioned there seem to really be dialed into what is not the norm. And you start looking at things and you say, the key to how you come up with your mock draft is 32 teams, right? 32 boards are going to look different.
Yep.
So identifying what is that perceived to be generational talent is such a key.
Yep.
And no matter what draft simulator you use for doing mocks, if you're using a simulator that's wrong in terms of the overall ranking, it doesn't matter shit what you pick.
Everything's going to be just off.
So what happened to me over the last week.
Let's deep dive the behind the scenes of the final mock draft.
This is where I almost felt like Robert Downey Jr. and Sherlock Holmes when he's trying to solve the mystery and he starts drinking the embalming fluid and he's kind of out of sorts and trying to get into this other mental world. That is kind of what I was trying to do, because it's like I want this to be the best mock draft that I ever have put together. And it's been stuck in my craw for months, but it got intense over the last couple of weeks.
I would imagine.
To where any little tidbit I could listen to, read, is that reliable? Is that bullshit? Is that some talking head?
Right.
Is that some clickbait crap?
Yeah.
You know, and so trying to decipher that and trying to come up with the needs of the 32 teams, as well as lay that against the 32. I mean, I'm telling you what, this has been thrilling as could be. And then trying to put that against 32 top 50 boards and how those are ordered.
Right.
And you gotta try to find the intersection of all that shit to get the best mock you can.
And what you guys don't see is the amount of red wire he's strung around this room with the photos of coaches, GMs, owners, and players. It's quite startling.
And I will tell you what, you're not wrong. There has been some mental red wire going on trying to figure out, you know, for example, Aaron Glenn with the Jets.
Yeah.
What did they bring him in there for, right? Defense. They brought him in there for defense. Think about these new head coaches. Ben Johnson.
Yes.
Why was he brought into the Bears? To make Caleb Williams better.
Yep.
Maybe a running game would help there. Just a thought.
Come
back to it.
Yeah.
But these things, and then you got to start thinking about, again, the value has to be there. You hear these scouts, these general managers talk so much right now about, we'd love to take a quarterback, but the value has to be there or we're not going to do it.
If it's not there.
And again, that's what they're looking at, is that top 10 or 12 players.
Yep.
And this draft doesn't have a lot. So you got that generational, that top talent up here, and then you've got a whole bunch of stuff.
It's wide open.
Flatlines.
Yep.
You know, in between the second round and even maybe as late as the fourth and maybe into the fifth, there's a lot of players that there's not dramatic differences.
Nope.
So it really, the top of this board, how it falls, and these guys go with either best player available or they go with need, is going to impact this thing dramatically.
Yes.
So how you want to go through this?
I think we just go through it one at a time, maybe give a little reasoning, and we'll sift through it.
So
I don't think there's a better way to do the final 2025 mock draft.
So let's just show the viewers. Here's my top 50 players that I came up with.
That you've been sifting through.
I've been sifting through. So I've got my top 50 players here.
All right.
And so that became the basis to use with my draft simulator to go through it in an orderly manner to match needs with the best talent.
I love it.
You know, these things, I've done them on my iPad. Here's one right here from back in March 8th. And I could tell you, there's a few gut feels here that are still
on
there, but there ain't many. This thing is upside down. There might be one, maybe two the same. Yeah. That's how far different it's gotten.
It's a lot different than it was.
So, and then last night to Colin, at 12 o'clock or whatever, I'm sending him this shit. Thank God he was awake, because I was like, poor kid's probably asleep. But I was sending him these little things, which he nicely printed out for me, and now here we are. So we'll kick into it here.
Might as well. There's no other way to start it off.
And just roll right on into the Tennessee Titans are on the clock.
Yes, they are. And this has been the one that the Titans kind of confirmed over the last 2 days. It feels like, obviously, nothing's set in stone.
Yeah.
But I think it's comfortable that a lot of people have kind of decided for the Titans that there's only one person they can go with, given their situation.
Yeah. And so really the thing to understand here is the Titans never really, and they fielded some offers from teams.
Right. Yeah.
But they never, the word from other general managers is that the Titans never really seemed interested fully. Mm-hmm. They heard them. They listened to it all. Yep. They'll do the same thing tonight. But ultimately, there was no doubt in their mind they were going to go Cam Ward.
Yeah.
So there you have it. Even though, and that's what they need. We know they need a quarterback.
Will Levis is not the future. They've got a first overall pick. They have to start from the ground up.
That's right. Number 2, the Browns.
Yes.
So, we heard the owner, Jim Haslett, talk about what a big mistake
the Watson experiment was.
The Deshaun Watson experiment was.
Turns out guaranteed money doesn't work.
It does not work. Ask the Broncos too, right?
Ask
anybody. Yeah. So, could the Browns make a deal here? Yeah. Again, as I mentioned in the opening, there are rumors that something was afoot.
Right.
Going to take a lot of draft capital to come up here.
Someone would have to come up with a king's ransom and be called clowns unless it worked out.
And somebody like the Jags, like we said, could be the team doing it. I mean, at 5, you could put it together. They got the pick power to do it.
They do.
But I sure hope that the Browns stand pat.
Yes.
And they go with Travis Hunter from Colorado, because the guy is going to be a phenomenal talent. He fills 2 needs. Even if you start out playing him at wide receiver and just partially as a maybe a nickel corner,
kind of lean him into it a little bit slowly.
It's gonna be an amazing impact for the Browns, and especially now that you got Myles Garrett back too. So now you got somebody on the back end to hold that thing together. So Giants at 3. Giants at 3 could still go Shedeur Sanders.
They could,
but there has been massive disagreement in that building between the scouting group, the general manager, and the coach.
Yeah,
Brian Dable.
Brian Dable,
who I didn't realize was regarded as such a developer of quarterbacks. Did you know that?
He developed Josh Allen. That's what got him this Giants gig. You remember Josh Allen's rookie season.
Yeah.
Everyone was talking about him like he was Sam Darnold, like he was an absolute bust of a player. And his rookie season, if I'm remembering the stats relatively close, it was terrible. Just abysmal. And Josh Allen then gained some confidence, got to be the Josh Allen we know today. And Brian Dable was, I believe, the offensive coach.
I think you're right. That has to be.
OC? Offensive,
probably the OC.
For the Bills at the time, and then the Giants brought him in. And I think they might have forced Daniel Jones on him.
They did, and that's a fact.
He
did not want Daniel Jones.
This went so poorly for the Giants, given a slew of other things. Let's not just focus in on failed Daniel Jones.
Yep.
But on top of that, that's why he's, I guess, regarded. Now, I would argue, look at his head coaching record.
Yeah.
I'm not saying he can't develop quarterbacks, but I haven't seen one come out yet.
Yep.
But he's regarded.
So they've got Russell Wilson now.
Yes.
And they got Jameis Winston.
Yep.
So you got enough there to get you through, at least maybe to drafting a quarterback later on.
Yes.
Will Mara, the owner,
yes,
have to step in and kind of sort this out between them?
Probably.
Maybe. But their safe pick, who is the best value, number 1 overall, with the hands down, no question, Abdul Carter.
Yep.
So you take him, you take the pressure off, get everybody back on the same page. Mm-hmm. This guy instantaneously, the Giants have always had great defensive linemen.
Yep.
I mean, even going back to Michael Strahan. Mm-hmm. And so make the safe pick, make the best pick, the number 1 player overall, and move on.
And I'll be honest, I don't see a reason to try and force a quarterback that he doesn't love there.
Yeah.
Now, maybe he does, and I've heard there might be some similar quarterbacks like Jackson Dart.
Yeah.
But maybe, and we'll get into this later, that's a spot where they jump back in at 29 or 28, and you see them reach at that point.
Yeah.
But who knows?
Could very well be. So number 4 here is interesting, the Patriots. So everybody, everywhere, they're in a tough spot because what they really should do is trade down.
Yes.
They need an offensive tackle, and Will Campbell has to be the pick if it's an offensive tackle.
Right.
But Will Campbell in the overall value chart is down below the 10.
Right. So now all of a sudden you're forcing.
You're forcing it because this is need now instead of best player available. So,
Exactly.
But if they don't get someone to trade up there, then they got no choice. They really, so they could, Will Campbell would be the obvious selection. Everybody's predicting that. But Jalen Walker on the top 10 talent board, linebacker from Georgia, is arguably the next highest rated player on the board.
Oh.
So I'm going to say Will Campbell.
Okay.
But I'm going to give you caveats on these things too.
Well, don't forget, Patriots GM is the same one that was the assistant general manager on the Browns when they were saying, we're drafting Sam Darnold, drafted Baker Mayfield 1 overall. And he got it right.
Yeah.
And they shipped his ass out of town.
Yeah. But
regardless,
got it right.
They set up smoke screens and went a different route. Who knows who that was?
Yeah.
But he was there. And he was the assistant general manager at the Browns in 2018 when they did that.
And let's just mention that the head coach is a former NFL linebacker.
Yeah, Mike Vrabel is a nut job.
So
this could go a lot of ways.
He could very well go for Jalen Walker. And again, Jalen Walker right now is the top defender. He's the top player still on the board.
Right.
So best player available, linebacker Jalen Walker.
Highest
need Will Campbell, offensive tackle, LSU. I'm going to say Campbell's probably the pick.
I just wanted to throw that out to the masses.
So here's another one. Here's one that goosed it up too.
Yes.
So before, everybody's been talking about Mason Rudolph, the defensive tackle, going to the Jags.
Yep.
The new coach, something about the defensive coach being minded with a player like him or something.
Yes.
Short arms are an issue.
Right.
Short arms, big concern with
Mason Graham?
Mason Graham, thank you. So think about Liam Cohen. Offense.
Yes.
Again, look to the head coach, been brought in on what they're going to do.
Right.
I think that's a big tell sign.
I agree.
He's been brought in to resurrect the quarterbacks.
Lawrence.
Yep, Trevor Lawrence's career. Go back to Clemson and think about when he was successful at Clemson versus now in the NFL. What did he have then that he doesn't have now?
Left.
Tall receivers. His ball sails.
Right.
When he throws. So, Ted Aurora, McMillan, right in here is the tallest receiver there is at this level. So, again, he's probably outside the top 10. But for fit for Trevor Lawrence, he's probably the best pick for them. So Ted McMillan, and no matter how you look at it, is who I'm going to predict to be the Jags pick at number 5.
I like it.
Okay, so now we're going to go down to the Raiders at 6.
Yes.
Everybody's been talking about Genty here.
Yes.
It's not going to be Genty.
Okay, let's hear.
There's just no way in the world it's going to be Genty.
I love this.
I think it's going to be Jalen Walker, the linebacker we were just talking about.
Right.
The next best talent on the board.
Yep.
Right? Raiders need defense.
They need something.
Yep. It could also be Mason Graham if Jalen Walker went to the Patriots.
Right, and then we kind of have a switcheroo here.
So I'll put that little caveat out there, but
That's
I
a
think
situation.
I think it's going to be Jalen Walker.
Okay.
Linebacker, Georgia. Okay, now we get to the Jets. We talked about this in the opening bit.
Yep.
Aaron Glenn, Detroit Lions, defensive coordinator, is now the head coach.
Yep.
He was a versatile cornerback. Play all the positions. Play nickel, play outside, play inside. The best corner in this draft to be his guy to execute his defense, and that's what he had at the Lions too. I forget the corner's name, but he had that kind of versatility.
Yep.
Jahdae Barron from Texas.
He likes it.
And again, at 7, most people had him down below Will Johnson.
Right.
But arguably for this situation with the Jets, the head coach is brought in to turn around the defense. This is his guy.
Okay.
So
I like it.
Here we go.
I like it. We got to use context clues here.
That's right. And now, again, as you start looking at the defensive linemen, and in particular the rushers, the edge rushers, now this is where these guys, in terms of that overall ranking, are higher than anybody else.
Ooh.
And now we've had possibly Will Campbell and McMillan taken, and still got talent above them in the draft.
Right.
So Shamar Stewart goes to the Panthers here, edge rusher from Texas A&M.
Okay.
He just fits them really well.
I love it.
Mikael Williams, who's been ascending charts like crazy.
Yep.
They're saying that they have one more year with Cam. Is it Cam Hayward?
Yes.
This guy's body type, style of play fits that. It'll give him a year
to kind of learn underneath him and then become the guy.
Edge from Georgia. And again, both these guys in the upper 15 of the draft.
Okay.
And I think upper 12, actually.
There you go.
So now pass rushers again.
Yes.
Ben Johnson at 10 gets his guy.
Bears finally do it.
He needs to have at least, Ashton Genty, Boise State running back. Is he Jamar Gibbs? Is he, who's the other guy? David Montgomery?
Yes.
He's probably a combination of those, honestly.
Big fella, but good balance.
But with 4 picks in the top 79 for the Bears, they're going to make some serious headway here.
They are.
And Caleb Williams' best friend is going to be a talented running back.
Instead of him.
That's right. Amen to that. Ashton Genty at 10 to the Bears.
Okay.
And the Bears are going to come out of this thing. The Bears may be the most improved team from the draft when it's all said and done.
I can see it.
We'll see. So I got a couple variations here. And we'll see how this evolves. But 49ers at 11.
Yep.
I could see it being Jahad Campbell, linebacker from Alabama.
Right.
Or I could see it being Mason Graham, defensive tackle from Michigan. I'll go ahead and say let's go with Mason Graham, defensive tackle from Michigan. They need D-line. Some people have talked about Nolan going there, Walter Nolan, which is really possible. But I think Mason Graham falls down to them there and is still in that top 10 kind of bracket.
Right.
So we'll see
what
happens.
Makes the most sense in that situation.
Exactly. Cowboys at 12. Most people have a wide receiver going here.
Right.
But I think you get Dak, a big pass catcher, tight end. And arguably, again, top 10 talent.
Yep.
Dropping down the board. Jerry loves his tight ends.
Loves them. Tight ends.
They pick tight ends when they don't even need to.
Yep.
And so I think they stay here with best player available, and they take Tyler Warren, who is probably a top 5 talent, actually, in this whole thing. In fact, the other tight end that's down here, Colston Loveland from Michigan, he's arguably in the top 10 as well from the overall board. So at 13, we have Walter Nolan, defensive tackle from Ole Miss.
Okay.
Could be James Pierce, edge, depending on what happened ahead.
Right.
But I'm going to go with Walter Nolan on this, defensive tackle from Ole Miss.
Love it.
Dolphins need to shore up that D-line. And again, it is a draft rich with edge rushers and defensive tackles.
We're going to see a lot of that this first round.
Yep. At 14, I'm going to go with Jahad Campbell from Alabama, linebacker, who again is still up in that top 10 talent, but has drifted down because of all these other things, being picks.
Yep.
We got Will Johnson, cornerback from Michigan, going to the Falcons at 15. Again, most boards had him way up high.
Right.
But again, the way the value has dropped down here, they get a really good player.
Hell yeah.
Cardinals, offensive guard. Most people don't have Greg Zabel from North Dakota State above, who's the other guy? Crap.
Oh, you're good.
Tyler Booker from Alabama.
Right.
But Greg Zabel has a mean streak to him and is a worker. And so he has transcended Booker in the rankings, I think.
That's crazy.
So at 16, the Cardinals shore up the interior offensive line with Greg Zabel from North Dakota State, offensive guard.
Hell yeah.
We got James Pierce going to the Bengals at 17. Again, pass rusher.
Yep. Hendrickson on the line. Some question marks on defense. You just have to assume that's who they're going with.
Exactly. And again, a talent that's in the top 15 that's going here outside the top 15.
It's a steal.
Because of the gifts, right? The Seahawks get a really good one here. Right tackle Armand Membao, offensive tackle from Missouri. Yep. Most people had him in the top 15. Again, when you look at where the offensive tackles this year would compare to last, these guys would be more like 5 and 6, not 1 and 2. And so because, like James Pierce, for example, is the 5th best probably edge rusher in this draft,
right?
But still his value is higher than Membao's.
Okay.
And so Membao drops to the Seahawks. They get a great offensive lineman that they need. Another edge rusher, Mike Green, goes to the Buccaneers.
Okay.
Edge from Marshall. Probably the 6th top defensive lineman, edge rusher in this draft. But again, drop it down because of those other selections.
Yep.
The Broncos, maybe surprisingly here, you certainly everybody would be thinking running back with where they were last year.
Right.
But tight end is also a need, and Colson Loveland is a top 6 player.
Okay.
So I believe that Sean Payton will stay true to the value, the best player available. Plenty of running backs in the next round, still going to be there. And I think he takes the best player overall.
That'd be pretty exciting.
I mean, he was trained by Bill Parcells, and Bill Parcells would not reach for a player, I guarantee you.
Yep.
Number 21.
Okay.
We finally get to Mike Tomlin's quarterback, Shedeur Sanders.
That would be interesting.
I think it's a great fit. I think Mike Tomlin is the right guy for Shedeur Sanders to be successful in the NFL.
Okay.
The Steelers are quarterback starved.
Right.
Shedeur's got kind of that Ben Roethlisberger, swag to him.
Yep.
Which has worked well for them before.
It has.
And I think Mike Tomlin is kind of a Deion Sanders kind of guy in how he operates. I think it's going to make the transition for Sanders to the NFL really good. I think it's going to be a great situation for the Steelers.
Damn.
Drops to 21.
Yep, okay.
Derek Harmon, the phenomenal defensive tackle from Oregon. The Chargers shoring up that D-line. We talked about it last week.
Yep.
Edge rushers, D linemen. That defense is going to be next world compared to what it was last season.
I'd love that.
And that offense is going to get a lot more opportunities from stops and turnovers, strip sacks that these guys are going to get. I think Jim Harbaugh knows exactly what he's doing. And trenches, and now he's going to the D-line because it's rich with that.
Yeah.
They build the strength, make it stronger. It's going to be something else, I'm telling you.
I love it.
So the Chargers need that for dealing with the coaches and offenses players are gonna deal with.
Yep.
So Matt Golden from Texas, who was expected to go to the Cowboys on most mocks at 12, falls all the way to Green Bay.
Wow.
At 23. And I think it could have been a couple different people. Walter Nolan could have fallen down there.
Uh-huh.
But in this case, I've got Matthew Golden in my final mock from Texas, wide receiver going to the Packers.
Love it.
This is a surprise one here.
Mm-hmm.
So, Maxwell Hairston, cornerback from Kentucky, really moving up boards day by day by day.
Wow.
Vikings are needing to rebuild that secondary a bit.
Yes, they are.
Especially the corners.
Yep.
And I think they take the best corner still on the board at this point, and that's Maxwell Hairston.
Makes sense to me.
And that guy kind of came out of nowhere, honestly.
Yeah.
But if you really look at his skill set, and again, as you kind of get closer to it, all the pro days and all the different things like that, I think the fit is there for the Vikings, and he's been underrated leading up to the draft.
Okay.
Kenneth Grant, defensive tackle from Michigan. A lot of people had him somewhere in the first round. Great pick still on the board. I have him going to the Texans here. Easily could have had them taking an offensive lineman.
Right.
And I think in one of my drafts I had Josh Simmons going there. So we'll see what happens, but I'm gonna go in on Kenneth Grant, defensive tackle.
Love it.
The prior pick with the Vikings, I could have easily seen them going with Malachi Starks, safety from Georgia, who's a very talented player too. I just think there's more safeties than top corners in this. So
you got to pick the one when it comes to you.
Yeah, pick the limited quantity first. Rams, I could easily see them going with running back. Could easily see them going with running back, Omarion Hampton or Trayvon Henderson from Ohio State.
Yep.
But I think they're going to go with the third top tight end on the board, Mason Taylor.
Okay.
Guy is really talented. Again, definitely a step down from the top two, but still probably a top 20 talent in this draft. And so Mason Taylor, nice addition to the Rams offense.
Yeah, I mean, they could use a good tight end, especially with Cooper Kupp leaving.
Yeah, exactly. 27, so I have Malachi Starks, safety, going to the Ravens.
Okay.
Safety from Georgia.
Yeah.
I had Donovan Izaraku, edge from Boston College, going there in a prior mock. So one of those two, but I think it's going to be Malachi Starks.
Okay.
Guy's been ascending boards, very talented safety, leader, very instinctual. I think he fits what the Ravens kind of need to rebuild on their defense, I think. Emeka Egbuka, wide receiver from Ohio State.
Nailed it.
I think he goes to the Lions.
That'd be crazy.
At 28. They just add on to what they've got going there and make it even better than before.
Horrifying.
Maybe that'll get them over the hump.
Yeah.
So, but I think it's a great pick for them. Not too far from home, or at least from college.
Yeah, he's familiar with the area.
Yeah, and I think it's a great fit for the Lions there to get a playmaker.
Okay.
Another guy here that kind of snuck up, Jalen Noel, wide receiver from Iowa State. Didn't have him originally anywhere on any of my mocks over the last couple of weeks. Really seems to have interviewed well.
Okay.
And demonstrated himself to be a solid character guy. Washington just trying to add weapons for Jaden Daniels.
Yeah.
And they've already got Terry McLaurin.
Yeah.
So they're going to put another really talented receiver with him. And Debo, yeah. And so look out for that team this year.
That'll be a problem.
Yeah. They're gonna be even better yet. And they got confidence beating the Lions.
Yep.
So look out for that.
Oof.
So Jalen Noel there. My previous one, I had the Ohio State receiver Egbuka going there. So again,
some wide receiver shift there, possibly.
Yeah, little run on receivers right there. The Bills looking for pass rushing again. Strong pass rushing draft. Donovan Izraoka, I think.
I love it. I can't even act like I know.
Edge, Boston College. That one is just a tough one to say.
That's Donovan easy, baby.
Yeah, Donovan E. How about that? I love it. It's just like when I heard somebody on Tetaroa McMillan say Tet McMillan. I was like, Tet. That's it. There we go.
Your name
I like it. In number 31 and 32, we got the Chiefs and the Eagles. We know the Chiefs need offensive line help.
Yes.
They're going to get an offensive lineman there. There's just no doubt about it.
Obvious this past season.
Kelvin Banks, offensive tackle from Texas, is still on the board. Again, all these other things happening. Higher value picks. Best player available pushes that talent down. He might have gone, up here at 18 to the Seahawks.
Right.
But
because of all this,
Chiefs luck out. I mean, again, like we said last night on our text, damn it, the rich get richer, if you will. Yep. And sure enough, the Chiefs wind up with Kelvin Banks Jr., offensive tackle from Texas. And the last one here in the first round for the Eagles, I messed around with them having Jalen Milrose. Who is essentially a Jalen Hurts clone.
Right.
Picked here. I don't know who their backup is. I couldn't remember.
It's not Kenny Pickett. He moved on, didn't he?
I think he moved on. But I think Kenny Pickett's in Cleveland now.
Unless it's like DTR or one of those Patriots backup. Unless that was DTR. I can't remember.
Yeah.
Whoever it is.
Yeah. But don't be surprised. It would make sense to me if they took Jalen Milrose there. Because there's a lot of people talking about that guy ascending the draft charts. And again, he's from Alabama. When he plays, he looks like Jalen Hurts.
Interesting.
So wouldn't be a bad pick to make sure they've got that whole thing stabilized with a backup.
In case something were to happen.
Yeah. So, but in this case, we got Josh Simmons, offensive tackle from Ohio State.
All right.
Another fine offensive lineman. Again, the Eagles are built in the trenches.
Right.
And so you just keep making your strength stronger and go from there.
Hell yeah. And that is K-Dog's final mock draft.
Final.
How about that?
What do you think?
I loved it. And now, my favorite part is betting on said mock draft.
Did I leave you enough time?
Oh, plenty of time. I will be throwing up somewhere on the screen the number of total positional draft picks that were in his final mock draft. Now, right now, FanDuel still has not released all of the prop bets for this, which is annoying, but I understand because this is the event of the year for the NFL football where they know as much as we know. They are simply going off of insiders and whatnot that they shouldn't be using, but they probably are. And going off that. You can only pick on FanDuel because that's what I use. That's what I'm going to go off of. DraftKings, I believe, has way better prop bets you can take on the draft. So
really?
That's my info to you, but all I know is FanDuel stuff. You can bet on picks 3 through 10 right now. I don't know what makes the most sense. At 3, right now, Abdul Carter is minus 600. I don't know if I'd take any value there. Pick 4, Will Campbell is minus 450. Not much value there if you're looking to bet on him specifically.
Right.
Now you go down to 5. Ashton Genty is now minus 180 to be picked there. If you think it's going to be Tet McMillan, that's plus 700. Sprinkle a little bit there maybe. I like that a lot, and I've already sprinkled all of these. I've sprinkled 3 rounds of his mock draft he doesn't know about. Now, and we're only going to do the top 10. I'll make it quick. You're looking at 6. Raiders. Amand Membao is plus 100. So now we got some value. You can go any way you want with this. I would go Jalen Walker because that's what he said, and FanDuel doesn't know. That's the thing about this. They're not supposed to know, even if they do. You can get Jalen Walker for plus 250. So maybe not as much of a sprinkle, but something to think about because everything's plus money at the 6th pick.
See, and again, the thing that's working for us, like you said, against FanDuel, is these teams don't even know. I mean, what's going to be on the board because of how they could play this value or need.
So 6 through 10 is kind of my favorite to be betting right now because you can sprinkle a couple different names, $5 each, $15 bet on 3 picks, and if you don't take the favorite, you should be kind of in the plus money at that point. If you're looking at 7, that's the Jets. Now, if you listen to his entire thought process behind Jedi Barron, he right now is plus 1,000. I sprinkled a few bucks on that just in case because it makes sense. Why would they bring in Aaron Glenn? Defense. Who did Aaron Glenn love on the Lions? That same build at corner. Same type of guy. Number 8, we're looking. That's the Panthers. Jalen Walker's minus 125. Now, the pick Kevin went with, Shamir Stewart, he right now, to go at 8, is plus 3,300. Maybe a little $2, you know? Maybe feel it out. Do what you want. I already did it. I'm only telling you what I did, not what you should do.
Right.
Mikael Williams at 9. No one knows who's going to be available at 9. He's the favorite at plus 270. 10 to win, 27. Get your money back, 37. I don't hate it. That's all I'm going to say about that. Now we're looking at 10, and it's the Bears. Ashton Genty should be gone by now, but guess what? You're betting with the Coy Pond, and he is currently odds to be drafted here. I can't find it. He is in here somewhere.
It's so far down.
It's pretty far down. Oh, no, I'm just kidding. Plus 430.
Okay.
So basically they're saying if he doesn't get picked with the Raiders or the right now favorite Jaguars, he will go to the Bears.
Okay.
That's kind of their thought process. The prop bets on picking who at what number are a little frustrating. I don't fully recommend that if you made it all the way through this video already. I'm assuming you're still watching this, and I didn't say this at the beginning, so my fault. Now, my favorite parts. The over-unders for positions on to be drafted in the first round.
Okay.
You're not betting on who's going to take them, when they're going to be taken. You're just looking at how many of each position.
Love it.
Right now, total number of running backs is available to bet on at 2.5 being the line. Based on the mock draft we have right here, it's a clear under running backs because we're not even get to 2 in this. The North Carolina running back's not even getting on the board.
And so you would have a margin of error because if he gets in here, you still have one to give.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Now, the under is heavy at minus 278. I'm going to put 10 on it just to have something to root for. That's my unit amount. Do whatever you're safe with. But these types of bets, if you're going to place them, you're doing it for fun anyway. It's more in the sense that, hey, I can root through the entire first round, and if there's a trade at the end, or if there's not a trade at the end, and none of these running backs get chosen, it's a little bit more exciting.
Yeah.
Who knows who might reach for the running backs, considering it feels like there's a wide gap between Genty, the North Carolina running back, and then the rest of them.
Hampton,
Even though it's a little bit deeper as you go later on.
Yeah.
So I would take the under. That's what I'm going to go with. The other line that they have available right now is wide receivers at 2.5, which is kind of interesting because on here we have the Jaguars taking wide receiver, the Packers, the Lions, and the Commanders. That's 4.
Yeah, you're right.
So over 2.5 wide receivers right now is a minus 400. Honestly, I would probably wait to see if we can get that line to 3.5 and maybe more like minus 250.
Yeah.
Minus 400 is a damn. I mean, they're stealing your money.
Yeah.
They want nothing to do with this draft. It's pretty clear at this point they have no idea what's going on either.
Yeah.
It's
all over the damn place.
It really is. And if you see more lines come out or DraftKings has lines available that I'm not talking about, I'm sorry. But you can use the over, under, or the list I'm putting on here of the total of each position that we have drafted. And you can kind of go through and feel it out. Feel it out what you like. Make educated guesses and decisions. The draft is a lot of fun to bet on when you do positional lines on who's getting drafted in that first round.
It really is. And so Colin and I will be at a local restaurant called Carver's tomorrow night.
Yes.
To start out it's tradition. To start out the draft. And I probably have done this for, I don't know, the better part of 15 to 20 years, I would say now. And one of the most memorable draft nights for me, I just want to tell a quick story if I can. So, for those of you in the Southwest Ohio area, Ohio State, Centerville, Nick Mangold is a Hall of Fame Centerville High School center, I think. Yeah. I think he always played center. Who played for, I know at least the Jets. Yeah. I can't remember who else he played for. And that might have been it. But my most memorable night at Carver's for the draft was his dad used to come into Carver's. Nick Mangold's dad, Vern, used to come into Carver's. Wow. And there's nothing like being ready to watch the draft and being excited about the draft and actually talking to somebody whose kid was drafted in the first round.
That's crazy.
And hearing the stories of, what it was like at home when this was going down. And I forget where he was drafted, but what a vibe for the family and for Nick and his dad and all of them.
Crazy.
And his sister, is a Olympic, I believe, shot putter is what it was, something like that.
Damn.
Weightlifter. So an immensely talented family there.
Without a doubt, they got the gene.
But pretty wild to spend time with an actual person
that's gone through it.
That behind the scenes kind of went through it. So
insane.
We're excited, stoked about tonight. Yep. And hope you'll take the draft in. Yes. Put your favorite colors on and sit back and take it all in, and maybe we get some trades and get some excitement going and some surprises.
Maybe we will see some late first round surprises. It would be great to see it, but also most drafts don't end up being as exciting as on paper as we would like for them to be. But who knows? Yeah, we'll go from there.
And again, this without a doubt is my most edgy forecast for a draft I have ever done. This is the least tied to anyone else's mock, and most tied to just what I think, gut, research, listening to people smarter than me, and then trying to put all those things into one place. So if that place does exist, it's right here.
So we'll see. Hope everyone has a great draft night. We'll see you next week, and as always, enjoy some NFL football. That's all we got for a little bit.
Right on.
After this, it's over. But nevertheless, peace.